Hey guys, so I wanted to do a little pick-a-pile reading for you. This video is going to be time-stamped, so after the intro, if you feel you know which pile you're drawn to, then you can just go ahead and skip to that portion of the video. So yeah, I'll put the timestamp info in the description below. As always, thank you so much for everyone, all of you that are liking, commenting, and subscribing. I suggest you do subscribe if you don't already. That way you don't miss out on any of my content. But also feel free to share this video and any others, you know, that you resonate with that I have, or like, because I do also monthly zodiacs as well, and other pick-a-piles and stuff. But yeah, and then this is a general reading for the collective, so take what resonates, leave the rest. And this one is going to be about what you need to hear right now. So if you want, just go ahead and focus on that question. And then you can ask Spirit, you know, Spirit, God, Universe, what you need to hear right now. So keeping that in mind, then pick the pile that you're most drawn to. And as I said, the timestamps will be in the description below. So this is pile 1, pile 2, pile 3, and pile 4. Hey, pile 1. So if you picked pile 1, this is your pile. So I'll go ahead and put the decks I used in the description below. Let's see. So I'm getting to pull this one. Okay, so it says, let your friends help you. Ask for and accept support from others. I do get a feeling there's something here with like, some of you there might be a group of you in this whole reading in general, where there might be a group of you that are questioning why your friends want to support, or, you know, why certain people in your life are wanting to support. Like, is it genuine, or where's it coming from, or what's their intentions? But ultimately, I feel like if you allow that energy to come in and, you know, allow people to help you, like, they get blessed in that as it is. But in general, I feel like the energy is in a way right now to where the people that are wanting to help you for the wrong reasons, if there are some, they'll kind of be weeded out. Like, either your circumstance will be like, it won't work for them or something like that. So the ones that stay will be the ones that are like genuinely fully giving their all. So it's not necessarily like, it's not a matter of not your place, isn't what I'm trying to say. But basically, like, in this season, in this time, your focus isn't supposed to be avoiding letting people help you because you're so, you know, nervous or unsure where it comes from, or even unsure how it could affect them. You know, you're not supposed to micromanage that. Like, the universe right now, you know, is telling you basically, like, this is a time you need help in what you're doing, or you need help in, even some of you, it might be in seeing something differently. So it might not even seem like you necessarily need the help for some of you, but you do. You need like an outside perspective, an outside, not influence, but, you know, basically just almost see like stirring things up a little bit for some of you. And then let's go with these. So, and I don't read reversals. So the Hermit, the 7 of Cups, 8 of Wands, and the Death card. You know what's funny is, like, this is like orange, this is pink, this is blue, and this is like all rainbow. So I feel like for some of you, like with the Death card, it's not necessarily a bad card. Sometimes it's just the death of a cycle and the birth of a new one, or allowance of that energy to come in for the birth of a new one as you allow that. I'll go into what I'm about to say. I was going to say something, but really quick before I do that. So Hermit is, a lot of times it's introspection, you know, needing to kind of take a step back, go inward, and kind of survey the whole situation, you know, the past, the present, the future, what you're wanting, and adjust accordingly. But it's more so like in a meditative inward state of just like focusing on you and kind of almost resting in that moment. Yeah, and then the Seven of Cups is a matter of choices. So sometimes it's a matter of choices and you can have different options and things like that. But also, Cups, Wands, there's sometimes an element of empathy in it where it's like you might have choices, but you might not feel like you have as many choices as you do because you're emotionally connected to some of the outcomes or to some of the choices themselves. So it feels like you're pulled every which way, kind of. So it's harder to feel like you have freedom in that. Especially with this, it's funny, like it's like bubbling up. I mean, I know it's not bubbling up, but I just kind of hear that in my mind, especially like the fragments, like well, I mean, these are like the choices or whatever, but it almost looks like fractured psyche, like pieces of mirror. So it kind of feels like some of you like are kind of in your heads. I know this is Cups is a emotions, intuition card. So it's not so much, you know, mental, and it's not like swords, but I do feel for some of you, this is kind of a thing where it's like, it's bubbled up so much that it's kind of put you a little bit in your head. So it's kind of acting like you look at the cups, or not cups, you look at the choices and you just keep seeing mirrors. It's almost like mirrors. Like you see yourself in each one, whether you're actually in it or not. You empathize so much in it that it's like, yeah, again, like I said, you empathize in it. So it's almost like you feel guilty for choosing one choice versus the other on some, you know, for some situations, for some of you. But there's a lot of bubbling up here going. So it's like, I feel like some of you, it's like, it's come to this place because of the bubbling up. It's like, maybe you've had this bubbling up, you've had things, you know, start expanding or growing, or, you know, things coming to the surface. It was just getting more and more and more in your emotions, or in this kind of emotional arena, so to speak, in your life. And it's like now suddenly all the choices are up at like in the surface, instead of being, you know, oh, okay, well, I'll pick on my own and no one's really seeing me. Like some of you might be feeling like now you're in a place to have to pick choices, but everyone might be watching. Not saying everyone is, that might not be for all of you, but I do feel like you feel like kind of some of you that like your private business, your business, what you felt like you should have been okay with being allowed to pick for yourself in your own time. Some of you, it might have bubbled up over, and now it's a situation that you're like kind of forced based off of different circumstances in your life or things around you. Situations shift to where now you're not necessarily in the public eye. I mean, some of you may be the public eye, but you're having to make those choices, and you're being seen. You feel watched in it, and it's like you don't feel as comfortable and as, oh, you can take your time anymore. Some of you in that situation. And then the Eight of Wands is generally, it's like things coming or going really fast. In this situation, it feels like it's going out really fast. Again, like you might be like your energy to these choices, to this stuff, you know, you're working with, you're dealing with, like it might be going out so fast that it's like, it's not, some of you might feel like you don't have time to aim, or, you know, to get a gauge on what it is you really want, because you know, see the options, the pros and cons, and your own connection to every option. So it's like you feel like they're going out too fast, but it's like nothing's being made, or not nothing's being made, but at least like, again, nothing's being able to be chewed on and take your time on anymore, because it's starting to come to the surface. And then the Death card, like I said, end of a cycle, beginning of a new one. However, what I was trying to say in the very beginning is there's the oranges. I mean, there's other colors here, but there's orange, pink, blue, and then there's a multitude of colors here. So it's funny, it feels like for some of you guys, there's like, it feels like this is a full cycle, that it's like, it's not just this, it's not just this element, it's not just this element. It's like a culmination. Like you've come to a place where like everything, some of you, it might be you've tried every way. You've been like, okay, well, I'm going to take a step back, survey everything. And then maybe that's why you feel like now it's bubbled over, because like I said, there might be a situation, a circumstance where new things came out, or not new things came out, but basically like you're kind of forced to have to choose now because of the timing. And for some of you, and so you've kind of been forced out of hermit mode is what I'm trying to say. So it's like you feel like you might have done that, and then you're forced out of hermit mode, and then you're like, okay, well, I need to do this quickly. I need to get this done quickly. And it's just like all this stuff culminating, and it becomes like all these different colors. So it's like you feel like some of you may feel like the death card isn't necessarily like the death of a cycle per se, but some of you may feel like your freedom in being able to do this stuff is like come to an end. So your freedom to be able to go to these places or to experience it or to take it in for what it is, it's like blended so much that it's like unrecognizable, that all it is it feels like an end. Like some of you, it feels like, oh, what is it? Like it's like they've combined so much that you can't see what you're dealing with. So it feels like it's a lost cause. That's what it is. That's what I'm trying to say. So some of you may like have lost hope because you feel like it's a lost cause because you felt like you've lost control of the situation. But I mean, so far, based off what this is showing, is there is an element like you need to let your friends help you, obviously. Like it feels like there's some people that'll be able to deal with this, some people this, some people this. The other thing is I feel like there's the orange in the hair there. Then there's the purple here. So we got the purple or purple blue, whatever, either one of them. And then we've got the orange here. So it's like you have people that are like right there, ready, supposed to help you in these different situations. And if it's not for this specific thing or that specific thing, regardless, for when you're like feeling like this, like it's not even when you come to this end place, not end, but you know, it's like in general, you have that freedom. There's also the element of a skull here I'm seeing, and it's interesting because it's like almost like it's growing out of the skull. But the thing is the skull is dead. Well, I mean, it's, you know, like a skull is a dead human. So, or at least a human skull. So like to have all this stuff growing out of it, it just feels like there's like, for this personal reading, not necessarily the Hermit card normally, it feels like there's a lot of life trying to be grown out of death right now. And I don't mean the death card here, but I mean like maybe there's some things that you felt like are lost causes or are done things that shouldn't have been coming up. And whether they are or they're not supposed to be coming up, they might have, some of you, it might have been coming up because when you've gone into yourself, some of you might have gone into this place where it's like this circle over and over and over, where it's like shed light on this. Okay, now I'm going to take this mode. Now I'm going to go here. And then like this over and over. And some of you in some ways might have gotten kind of addicted to that cycle. So it's like you might have been in a healthy place of doing the whole hermit mode, but you might have taken it to a bad place in yourself. And so therefore all these other things started coming up and you kind of lost your time. And, you know, now you're faced to where you need to make a decision and you need to do it quick. And it's not even you need to do it quick. It's like some of you might be dealing with a partner or, you know, a business partner or something where it's like, you know, one of you has one strength and the other has another, or you have another. And it's a situation of like, you're expected to move just as fast, even though you have totally different talents. You're expected to go to the same place, at least you feel like it in some ways, or the same distance, the same length, even though you guys are totally different people. And so that might be kind of frustrating you right now in all this, is this whole pressure of feeling like some of you like watching over your back, like watching over, like, do you really want to help me for me? Is this for me? Like, what is this? Because I feel kind of judged in this. I feel like I'm supposed to make a decision, but everyone's watching me and I'm supposed to be here or there. And everyone has different skills than me. Like this one can fly, this one can jump and run. And it's like, it's not a matter of focusing on your differences and saying, oh, well, you're not good enough, but you know what I mean? You're not in the place that you can help me, or micromanaging that, or you don't have the skills that I have, so you wouldn't understand my situation, or you don't operate like me, so you wouldn't understand my situation. It's not about micromanaging that and kind of almost coming back to this mode in your mind, getting stuck. It's about literally taking that and being like, okay, let me start not delegating, but basically trusting in the people around me, or trusting in the universe, you know, spirit, God, universe, to basically say, okay, you know what, if you brought these people in my life, you know, you brought this person to help with this area, you brought this person to help with this area, you brought these people to help me see my situation better, then I'm going to trust. And maybe they won't see it clearly. Maybe they'll offer some help, or they'll offer some guidance and point you to somewhere else. But regardless, they're in your life for a reason, and you already have that energy coming to you. You already have that. Because yeah, you're not supposed to bring, I feel like in this situation, like you're not, this was like a whole circle. Whereas this is like, okay, well, let me plant this in here. I mean, I know it's not plant this in here, but I just feel like this is allowing the end of your mentality of doing this all on your own and allowing a new beginning. I mean, some of you, that might be the only part of what the death card is saying for you, and some of you it might be something totally different. But regardless, like in order to function, in order to bring growth in your life, you're gonna have to let go of the reins a little bit. You're gonna have to trust. You're gonna have to trust that everyone brings their own piece, and it doesn't have to look like yours, and you don't have to worry and wonder if they're trying to help for the right reasons. Just trust that if they're not, it'll be weeded out, and you know, just have discernment in that way, but not micromanaging. Let's go with this one. Change of seasons. Yeah. So it's like, you might have been in the right here, or you might have been in the right in these times and stuff like that, but you can't go with the mentality of it's always going to have to look like one way, or the people that help me have to look like this or have to look like that. Like it's going to change. So some of you might have been holding on to the idea of, you know, like that, you know, maybe people helped you before that looked super obviously part of your tribe. And now you're getting people offering to help you, and they don't look like your tribe. Like they don't act like your tribe. And it's like, you know, this is a different season. Maybe, you know, Spirit, God, Universe is going to show you, you know, how you can glean from that situation, or how, you know, or even going to grow them so that they can actually walk in that, helping you, and walk in being blessed in that. So it's just, especially like I see like the whole clothed in it. And it's like, you might think, okay, well, you only can be clothed in the clothes. But it's like, no, even like the flowers, the season, everything that comes and passes and changes in, you know, the plant world, elemental, whatever, you know, it all changes. I mean, some of you, it might be astrology. And it's like, everything's going to change. And as everything changes, what you're clothed in may change as well. It doesn't mean you're changed. It just means that you can't micromanage and be like, well, this isn't the right color, so it's not going to attract the right attention, so I can't take this. You know what I mean? You can't go to that place of being like cutting off, you know, ability to get help from people, or to trust people, to allow them into your situation, as far as, you know, to see who you are and where you are. Life force energy. And look how much color, like it feels like a whole culmination. It's like she's in the water, but then she's got like all this energy. Oh wow, it's like so much the energy in that. It's crazy. But it's like showering over her, and it's like, in order for it to shower over her, like she can be in the water fully, but if you're fully submersed in the water, if you're fully in one space or another, and, you know, being like in your comfort zone, so to speak, then you might not notice when this showers. You might not see the lights. I just feel this idea, this concept of like not knowing the difference between where you are and the other place, because you're too much in your area. But when she's like out and she's trusting, and she's like, okay, you know, I trust you, universe. I trust you, God, that you have something amazing for me. And even if it doesn't look like the colors I'm used to, it doesn't look like this I'm used to, it doesn't look like that. It's not from the water. It's from light. You know, this is like, she's from the water and these are from light. She's like, it's okay. I'm open. I'll take it. I'll take it. If this is what you're giving to me, that means that's what's going to help me grow in this season. So it's like, it's really a matter of knowing, not even knowing, but trusting that what you're being given, what you're being shown, especially like in love, in the right intention, well, not intentions, but your intentions in that situation is, you know, it's what you need in this season. So, I mean, look at like the rainbows of colors. I mean, there's the orange and the purple, like the same way. So I hope that resonates for you guys, pile one. Let me know in the comments what did and what didn't. And yeah, like I said, if you feel drawn to share this, do that as well. That totally helps my channel. If, you know, like I said, if this resonates, then, you know, I would suggest that you subscribe, so that way you don't miss out on any of my other content. And I'll go ahead, like I said, and put the description or the links, the the decks in the description below. And yeah, so you can continue watching if you are interested in the next pile. Otherwise, I will see you next time, or the next pile, or any of the other piles. Hey, pile 2. So if you picked pile 2, this is your reading. Let's see. And I'll go ahead and put the description, or the decks in the description below. Let's start with these first. Actually, yeah, let's start with these first. And I don't read reversals. So 8 of Stones, which is the equivalent of 8 of Pentacles. Storyteller, which is like the Hermit. Callie, the Tower card. And 7 of Mirrors, which is like 7 of Cups. Go ahead and put that up there. So 8 of Pentacles, Hermit, Tower card, and the 7 of Cups. So right offhand, I'll just say 8 of Pentacles is kind of it's kind of, I mean, I always take it as also there's an element of joy in the process. A lot of times it can be work, finances, material stuff related. It doesn't have to be, but it's just that energy of really taking your time and doing a good job and kind of being detail oriented in that sense. Sometimes it can also be a thing of, you know, going back to school or developing your skills in an area. Just really, you know, taking, not an interest isn't the word I'm looking for, but just having integrity with it and wanting to, you know, do the best job, get the best out of it, and, you know, put the best in as you can. But a lot of times, like I said, it's building a new skill, learning, that kind of thing, for that subject. The Hermit can be, you know, going inward a lot of times, but it's inward and serving the past and serving the present, the future, and kind of deciding where you want to go from here. There is an element of, sometimes it's like a spiritual, not journey, but not necessarily discovery, maybe for some of you, but really kind of just learning and getting close to yourself and understanding yourself and being comfortable in your own skin, or not own skin physically, but like being comfortable in who you are, like really just sitting with yourself. The Tower, a lot of times, I mean, it's interesting. Okay, so we'll see what that is as far as the meaning with this, but generally it can be like the end of a cycle and beginning of a new one, but it's kind of, it's the concept, the focus is when it's the end of a cycle, it's like the end of something that you were holding on to, that you were trusting in, that you were saying, okay, this is my home, or this is the way things work. But it can also be like a phallic card. We'll see with this reading. And then 7 of Cups, a lot of times it's, you know, you have a lot of choices to make. You're trying to make a decision. However, a lot of times there's an element of being able to see in each one and empathize with each choice. So therefore it makes it kind of harder because you kind of see yourself kind of like in these mirrors in each one. And so it's like some of you in that sense might feel, you know, guilty picking one versus the other, or always wonder, well, maybe I saw myself in the other one. Maybe that one could be better for me. So some of you guys in that situation might be dealing with that. But let me see. I feel like there's, I mean, this is a 7 and this is an 8, but I do feel like this is like coming together and building stuff. I feel like for some of you, it's almost like these cards are flanking this. And some of you, it might be a situation where you're kind of trying to go back to the drawing board, but part of it is like trying to decide what you need to go back to the drawing board for, because you can see yourself picking either one. But it's like trying to make it, like put it in here and like, okay, well, let's cook it now. Like, let's make this happen. Let's let's manifest this. Like, I can see myself in these things, this thing, let's manifest it. However, there is a situation where this is kind of broken here. So some of you, there might be some fear of success or fear of failure, in the sense that you can foresee that, like, you don't know what comes next. Like, some of you, like I said, it can be fear of failure because this is broken, but it also can be fear of success in the sense that you look at this and you're like, well, this is broken. So, like, is this going to work? And what if it does work? Like, okay, like, I just get the sense of, like, I'm trying to get my words correct. This is broken this time. Is it always going to work? Like, say this works and it's broken. Say it's not what is socially acceptable. I mean, for some of you guys. Or it's not, it might look broken to other people, or it might be broken based off of your original ideals. So it doesn't fit the frame, literally, like it's like cracked and stuff. But part of you are kind of, might be in a place where you're kind of questioning, like, well, does that work? Like, what happens now? What happens if this does work out? Like, then do I have to follow through with that? And suddenly I have to adapt to this belief? Some of you guys, I feel like, might be going through something where you're literally kind of changing your belief system, and you're kind of getting shaken up, and you want to build and you want to grow, like, say maybe in some esoteric field or something, and you want to grow and you want to pursue that option, but you're like, but what happens if this works? What happens if it's not as broken as I thought it was, and I can still see my reflection in it, and it's still mine, and I can still use it? Like, what happens if it works? Does that mean I have to change everything? Does that mean I have to be a different person to my family, to my friends? Like, what does that look like? Who am I after this starts working? Ooh, I really feel that. I really feel some of you guys are like, yeah, are dealing with that. And there's an element too of, like, feeling like a part of you is like, I mean, I just see the skirt under the table, and the idea, like, feeling like a part of you feels like you're hidden. Like you feel like you haven't been true, not necessarily true to yourself, but it's like just this idea, like, what happens when all this has to come to light? What happens if I succeed in this area? What happens if I'm more this way than I thought? What happens if I like this? You know, like, some of you might really be dealing with that right now. Wow. And some of you, there might be an element of, like, inner parts. Like, there might be, like, guides, like different guides guiding you, you know, spiritual guides, you know, whatever you follow, you know, whatever your belief system. But regardless, you might have that be shaken up, or it's like they're all starting to look the same, and you're starting to question, like, so maybe it's okay, or maybe it's not. Like, you're trying to figure out your beliefs. I really feel for you guys, pile too. Like, you're doing that, and then it's like, this is the Hermit. So let's say for the Hermit way, you know, going inward and being like, okay, so what now? How do I adjust who I want to be and what I've been with who I am inside? And it's like, you're trying to take that. However, if you take also this card, as far as this deck, it's like the storyteller. So it's like, okay, well, what's my story now? Like, after this works, or if it doesn't work, like, what is my story going to be? Can I still return back if it doesn't work? Can I return back if it does work? Like, it really feels like, and you're just kind of like in this thing, because you feel like, gosh, you feel like this whole thing, like, I feel like some of you guys, like, have struggled in the past with feeling like one path might be evil, or one path might be this way, or one path might be like, you know, like, wow, I hear like hedonist, or like, you know, blasphemous, or something like that. And so you're like, but yeah, wow, this is like super strong in my heart chakra right now. And it's like, you feel like that, and you're like, so if this crumbles, like, is it because of the bad energies I'm dealing with? Am I getting too close? And you guys might really be questioning, like, can I go with that consequence? Like, will I be okay with that? Like, is that a good thing if that crumbles? Then what's next? What opens next? Like, is this gonna basically shake my foundation to where I have to build a new one? So even if it works, like, I'm kind of back at square one or zero, you know, and literally, like, forcing myself to keep, like, basically learn how to walk again, you know? And so you might really be questioning, like, your beliefs. And some of you might be questioning connecting to ancestors, or connecting to different, like, tribal you know, belief systems and different things that might be in your ancestry, and you're like kind of questioning, like, is it safe to go there? I feel like she keeps this safe. Not safe, but this is like backup. In case all these other things show differently, this is the one that she can just be like, okay, well, I can see myself here. So for some of you guys, like, in this situation, you have like one backup thing to be like, oh, well, this is me. And it's not that it's you or isn't you or anything like that. It's just, it's kind of, I'm not saying go this path or don't go this path. That's in your heart, whatever you do, the path I'm saying. But regardless, make sure you're holding this extra thing on hand for the right reasons. If you're only holding it because it's all you've ever known, so you're too scared of being, it's almost out of fear, then if you want to keep holding it, you need to readjust your beliefs in that and be like, okay, this isn't cool. Like, I can't take my actions out of fear. You know, you can take your actions not out of fear, but it's just, you need to, you know, call it for what it is if you're letting fear guide you. But yeah, she has it on the side. I also feel like it's not, she doesn't love it. Like, she has it on the side, but these are the ones that she chooses to see. This is the one out of sight. So I feel like for some of you guys, like, this other option, you know it's who you are and you know it's part of you, but it might be such a small part of you that you're like, it's like your comfort zone, but you don't really love it. Like, it's only your comfort zone because it's the only thing you've allowed in, or it's like it's only your comfort zone because some of you guys, it might be sentimental, it might be connected to somebody, and it wasn't necessarily yours, but it is yours, and, you know, by circumstance. So, like, I feel like there is a situation where you kind of need to adjust, or not adjust wasn't the word I was looking for, but I guess adjust and assess is the word I'm looking for, like, what you're doing and why. And it's funny, like, this is coming with the same feeling or the same, like, thing as that, in the sense that, like if you tell your story, like I said, like, you're like, okay, well, when I tell this story, if this works or if this doesn't work, like, what am I going to do? What impact am I going to have? Can I go back to my tribe? Can I go back to where the original tower? Can I go back to all this? So it feels like this is like a huge, like, not aha moment, but a changing point. Whatever you decide, it's like a changing point of setting you into, okay, well, this is who you've decided you are. Whether that is limiting yourself and you're supposed to go further in this other aspect of things, or whether that is going further, you know, and exploring that, or, you know, whether it is saying, okay, I'm not going to go further, but that's because of, you know, that's not where I'm called to be right now. You know what I mean? So it's really a matter of, I mean, honestly, like, listening to your guides, listening to Spirit, God, Universe, and to what you're supposed to do, what for some of you, what modality, you know, you're supposed to study. There might be elements of healing other people. There might be elements of, you know, telling your story. Some of you might have a story to tell, and you've kind of just, like, hid it because it's been more comfortable to stay in this tower of, this is how we do things. We don't talk about this. We don't share this. And so some of you guys might really be called to tell a story. So for those of you, there might be a group of you that it's not necessarily so much a belief system, rather if you tell the story that you've gone through and you've been through your side, you feel like you might flip everybody, like, well, I don't know, like, out of their chair, I don't know, out of their seat. And you're like, I don't know if I can shake that up. I don't know if I'll be able to return after I do that. So there's really a matter of, like, just trusting and listening to your inner guidance, but knowing that whatever choice you make, you have to do it for the right reasons and not out of fear. Not out of fear and not out of trying to control others. You're responsible for your own actions, and people will respond as they respond. And it's not because you're causing them to respond in any way. It's just they have free will to do what they want as well. can't feel. Let's go with this. Yeah. White Rose of Hope. Yeah, it feels like that. It's like, you trust in what you have growing in you, trust in this light that's been put in you, trust in your guides, and just know that even if you have this darkness in you, and some of this, I'm not saying darkness like it's dark, like bad, but sometimes maybe darkness because it's unseen, it's unknown, you haven't even explored that part of yourself yet. And it's like, that's okay. That can be okay for you to be in right now, as long as you follow the steps you're supposed to take right now, and just each time, take it step by step and go forward. You don't have to tell a full novel right now. Maybe it's a chapter. Maybe it's getting your feet wet. Maybe it's, as long as you're being true to yourself as to what you're doing and why you're doing it, that's the main point. You don't have to, be the next spiritual influencer, speaker, whatever, right off the bat. If that is who you are, or if that is who you're called to be, regardless, there's going to be steps to that. You're not going to be like this, like, you know what I mean? Like, and it's okay to have things in the dark to you right now, to where sometimes you don't see what's coming, or you don't see where you are in certain things, as long as you trust the light is in front of you and it's growing. And it's funny because it's like it's in front of her, but it's also like out on the side over there. So some of you may feel like, even though it's in front of you, like you might have to shift your direction just a little bit. And it doesn't mean like change or anything. And it doesn't mean not address it or receive it. It's just in a different way. And it's funny too, because there's like bones here. At least it looks like bones to me. And the inner workings. Just because you can't see the inner workings in one place, maybe you might be used to seeing the inner workings of things, and you're like, I can't see how this is going to go. It's okay. Just follow your truth. Be honest with yourself. Listen to your guides. But just go with from a place of hope, not fear, Children. Your love life is being affected by children. And some of you, like I said, it might be a teaching thing. It might be you pouring out your love. You pouring out, like, as you show how you feel so much love in this situation, or how you've healed in this situation, or how you've grown. It's like that'll show other people that they're lovable, that they can grow too. And so it's like, and some of you guys might literally just be questioning and being like, can I handle this? Like, I got kids, I got so many things to do. Like, am I really going to be able to do this? Like, is this feasible? But again, you can't go from a place of fear. You have to go from a place of hope, and those doors will open as much as they're needed to open with each step. As long as you're not forcing things and trying to force people's will or anything like that, and you're just, having integrity with what the steps you're shown, then, it'll be in its time. By the time you have this crazy busy schedule doing whatever, or, if it's affected you and you've changed your tower, you're in a different place or whatever, it'll be fine. It'll be what's meant to happen, as long as you're doing everything in the right heart. There's another element to this. It's weird because it's like she's got her arms here, and it's like to the light here, and then like she's got here. So I feel like some of you, like, it's a matter of listening to your inner child and like nurturing. It's almost like nurturing creatures, or nurturing those maybe less capable, or those on a different level in that sense. Just the same way, like, you've been nurtured. Again, like I said, your story, you might have a story that you're like, okay, you need to share so that other people can start to believe in magic. They can start to think that, their life, like, they're here for a purpose, and they can start living their purpose. Like, I really feel this, because it's like she's with him. They're together. They're like in this team, this bond, whatever. They're working together, but she's just like enamored with that animal. And it's like the puppy, I think. And so it's like, really, like, just be enamored in what you've been given. It doesn't matter if you stand with them or not. It'll naturally happen if you just take your place in loving and, having that hope. And realm bridger, exactly. It's like one realm to the other. Like, yeah, sounds like you're like, for, pile 2, you guys are really doing something where you're bridging the gap and you're sharing, you know, information from one side to another side. Some of you guys, it might be a medium situation. Some of you guys, it might just be sharing your story, being true to yourself in this way. But as soon as when you start flowing in your life, your light, and you start, you know, having that freedom in you, you inspire others to do it too. And it like starts like bridging this gap or bridging these realms that normally might be seeming separate. And it's like, oh, that's so beautiful. Like, and it just, I don't know. It's interesting how these colors, I kind of like this card, and this card have, I mean, even this card colors wise are similar. But yeah, it's like bridging the gap. It's like, you know, for some of you, it's like, you know, the situation of, okay, well, when the tower falls, then there's this big giant, you know, newness, and you have to go through the hardships when the tower falls. And, you know, it's a very big change, you know, and some of you might be telling yourself that, can I handle this change? But I feel like for some of you, it's like, if you flow in this energy, even if that change happens, like it's almost like it'll bridge the gap to where you won't even notice that there's a change, that there's a gap. It'll just be like, okay, this is your new life. I know, just like, you know what I mean? Like you'll adjust to it, or you'll energetically adjust to accept it even without even noticing, if that makes sense. Because like she's like holding up here, reaching, and then she's here. It's like she's like every which way. And I know there's like this going this way, everything going different directions. It's like I just feel like you'll be able to almost like all the hands here, like you'll be able to like have your hands in all of this, not necessarily controlling, but just receiving from all these different areas in your life. And it's like to be able to actually ultimately have hope, have love, and nurture and cherish what you've been given. So pile 2, I hope that resonated for you guys. Let me know in the comments what did and didn't. Go ahead and, you know, like, comment, subscribe. If you haven't already, I suggest you do. That way you don't miss out on any of my content. And yeah, if you feel, you know, compelled to share this reading, please do. I mean, there's other piles, so even if this one, you know, might not fit for everybody, there's like 3 other piles in this video, and those may, you know, whoever's drawn to watch it will. So yeah, and I will go ahead, like I said, and put the decks in the description below. So I will see you guys next time. Hey, pile 3. So if you picked pile 3, this is your pile. So I feel like I'm going to start here. So it says the perfect key. I feel like for some of you guys, there might be an issue of jealousy where it feels like you might have a key in your hand, but you feel like, you know, there's somebody else who has a lot of different keys or has like, you know, the answers and stuff. And it's like you might have the key, but because you're kind of like in this place of bitterness, or, you know, like just not trusting in a way, not trusting, but like, oh, what, you get the answers, but like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, of course you have all the answers, you know everything. And because of that, like you're kind of robbing yourself of that opportunity of healing or opportunity to access something. But some of you guys, it is an element of healing. I mean, there's tons of ways to read this card. It's just, that's the first thing I felt immediately. So yeah, let's see, because like I said, there's more to it, but I think that's like one of the biggest things is what's sticking out to me right now. And that's cool. This deck that has the bird, because this deck, we'll see, but this deck has like a lot of birds in it usually. Or no, not this deck, sorry. It's a different deck, never mind. A Hierophant, Ace of Wands, Temperance, and the Lovers. Yeah, I feel like some of you guys are dealing with a relationship situation. So the Hierophant a lot of times is kind of rigidness, and it's, I mean, there's different elements to the Hierophant. There's an element of like trying to bring old tradition stuff to the current for a sense of familiarity. But there's also, it can be a marriage card, but it can also be kind of a segregating, like, okay, this is how we do this. This is how this happens. This is when you do this. There's very much structure in that, and kind of sometimes like separation in that structure, like a sense of hierarchy situation. Not hierarchy, like, it's not like the, yeah, it's not like hierarchy, like bossiness per se, but just like, yeah, like everything going in its place kind of thing. Ace of Wands, it can be a new passion. In this situation, it could even be like a relationship situation. It could be like a phallic card, or it could be like also taking your power, creativity, passion, that kind of energy. I feel like there's an element of taking your power and just kind of like reveling in yourself in that, especially the way this card is, and it's like giving that off. So I feel for some of you guys, it's like you're kind of like combining these energies and be like, I'm going to do what I want. This is how you work. Not this is how you work, but this is the way, you know, other people have done with me. It's just, I don't know. I feel like a lot of like setting boundaries down. And in that sense though, like kind of relishing in that, like almost like a power trip. Like, okay, well, you know, I'm going to say no to this. I'm not going to allow this in here. I'm not going to do this. But like almost like feeling beautiful in that you can do that. And I don't mean that like in a good way or a bad way. It can be taken different ways, depends on what you're doing with it in your life. There's also shiny here. I do feel like some of you guys, this is like a phallic thing, like maybe even like a dominating thing. Like you might be in some kind of like relationship connection like that, where it's kind of like BDSM type, or there might be like a lot of like pleasure in that, master sub type connection. Especially like having the key here, like, yeah, there's a lot of that. Temperance is, and even if you guys don't have that in a relationship setting situation, you might have a connection where the energies are very much like, one's very dominant and one's very submissive. So, and like, you might just like kind of flow into that or click into that, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. It's just like some of you guys, it might just feel like home doing that. So it doesn't necessarily have to be like, some sexual relationship, or, a relationship dynamic or anything like that, or a romantic dynamic. But that those energies are very clear of like, this is the boss and this is the, you know what I mean? Like the superior and the under, but there's kind of a joy about it, I feel like. Because normally this one is like, gaining your power, but I kind of feel like almost like she's really small compared to it. And this is like there. So it almost feels like she's like enjoying, like feeling submissive to this energy. So yeah, I really do feel like there is a connection in that situation. But like I said, it doesn't have to be romantic. It can be, even like just you might enjoy, being in a lower position or feeling like you're, getting orders given to you. Like that might, kind of feel homish to you. Whether it's right or wrong, it's just, that might be where you're feeling. Temperance card is a lot of times it's combining. It's like alchemy, but it's like combining things that might seem like they might not go together and then like making something new, a new creation from the two parts. So again, like this whole situation might be a new creation. It might be new for you. Like this dynamic might feel like home, but you might not have actually had it before. So it might be very new for you that you're like, okay, this is something new. This is different. Some of you guys might be feeling like you're giving your power away, or this person's like not giving their power, but like giving your power away, like pouring into the other cup. And so sometimes you might question it, but you still like might enjoy it still. But you might be questioning it because you're told that you're doing that. Like, oh, well, you're going to let him do this. You're going to let this person say this to you, or you're going to like, follow rules and stuff. So like I said, this might not be relational only, might not be romantic only, but it's like you kind of enjoy it. And then there might be a situation where you're being asked like, from other people, like, oh, you're going to do that. You're going to let this happen. You're going to let that. And you're like, but I like only following this stuff, or I like taking orders, you know what I mean? And then there's the element, you know, the lovers. Like I said, some of you, this is a relationship situation. Lovers can also be like making a choice card. Again, making a choice. Some of you might be trying to make a choice. Like, is this okay for me to be operating in this way? Like, is this safe for me? Is this healthy? Is this for bad patterns? Is it like, why am I doing this? And like, especially because you might be getting told that and getting shown that. Especially with this, like I said, you know, if you're looking over your shoulder and being like, oh, well, this person has everything, like, and, you know, like kind of not taking advice because they do. I feel like for some of you that is a thing, but some of you also, in regards to this reading, this part, it can be a situation where it's like the other person seems like they have so much power. And it's like, yeah, this person's human, but like this is where all the keys are from. So this bird can just fly off. So there might be like I mean, in some ways, in this role of submissive, your attention might be so consumed with the dominant here, the dominant energy, that like you feel like you might be losing yourself. Like you might be enjoying it, but you're like, it's like you can't look anywhere else because that's who holds the power. And it's like kind of like, might be like tantalizing. It might be, you know, like not exhilarating, but like it might be kind of like this thing where it's like, you want to be small. Maybe you've always been really big. Maybe you've always like, you know, controlled everything. And this is like a comfort zone for you. However, yeah, I mean, I think this is also still letting you know, like you have a key. So don't forget that you don't. Just because they might seem like they have more, it doesn't mean that, you know, you're in a powerless place. You give the power that you choose to give. You know, so you can like be like, oh, well, they have this power over me. They have that power over me. But in this situation, if this is actually a consensual, healthy situation, they have the power that you allow them to have. So, you know, don't take it to a place of like where you start losing your voice in yourself and your own mind and your own mentality of what you're allowed to allow, or not allowed to, allowed to allow, I guess. You know, what you can say no to, what you can be like, okay, this is too far. Some of you guys, you know, like I said, might be experimenting with a connection like that. And you're like, is this okay? And like I said, some of you guys might just be, you know, experiencing that dynamic in like a workplace situation or something like that. And you're like, but I like it. I like being like not the one that has to do all the important stuff and I'm just doing this stuff instead. Like, so you guys might be questioning a lot, and it's just a matter of don't get so enamored by the power that this person has that you start feeling like you have nothing and you start operating like you have nothing. Like, know that when you're making a choice to trust or you're making a choice to be submissive, it's because you're choosing to be submissive, not because you are under their thumb and you can't move. Because if you're under their thumb and you can't move, then it's like a matter of, okay, understand, like you need to put your boundaries down. You need to, if it's a toxic pattern, if it's a toxic situation, like, you know, see it for what it is, that you might be giving your power away. Again, yeah, she's looking at the fruit and he's like over her, he's towering over her. So it's like, you might really be like focusing on the power, like, oh, like you wield this, but you might like that you wield only this and he wields other stuff. I know that's not what this card is showing, but I just, like I said, with all the rest of the energy, like I feel that. And it's funny how this is like very similar colors. Let's go with this one. Unique gifts. Exactly. It's like, you don't lose sight of your power in the situation, whether it's in this situation or just in general in your life. Like, no, you have your value. You can't come into this situation thinking you're worthless, you know, because then you'll take it into there and you'll give over your power. But if you know your worth and you know your value, and then you're just like, oh, but this feels good, then it's like, you know, just be honest with yourself and what you're doing with it. Romantic feelings. And it's funny too, is it's all like one color. So it's like unique gifts, but I feel like sometimes when you have those unique gifts, like you might be like, oh, but this is all just one-sided, or this is all one thing. Like other people might not resonate with this because they might have all the keys, have all these different things, and you just have one. And it's like, so use it. Know that that's what you are. Maybe you need to get more keys. Maybe you need to balance the power if that's what you feel, if that's where you are. But regardless, don't be enamored with them because of their power. Don't lose sight of the power that you do hold because of that. Romantic feelings, your feelings are real and worth exploring. Exactly. So if you do feel like it needs to be more, for those of you, especially if this is a romantic reading, if you do feel like it needs to be more, oh wow, interesting, I just saw something. Yeah, some of you guys might also feel like the other person has a lot of power because there might be a lot of onlookers. Like maybe like their status and stuff, maybe that's like making you feel like kind of, not submissive isn't the word, vulnerable in this situation. But again, like I said, if you need to even the playing court, if you need to even the whatevers, do that. But be honest with yourself. Well, like, where is it coming from? Don't come into this situation thinking you're worthless or that you can't like be honest about your feelings and explore them or voice them. Like make sure it's clear that you are allowed to be your own person and to carry your worth and to hold it and to possess it. That's an interesting reading, pile 3. But yeah, so I hope that resonated for you guys. Let me know if it didn't, what did, what didn't. Let me know. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already. And yeah, because then that way you don't miss out on any of my other readings. And like I said, I'll go ahead and put the the decks in the description below, and that way you can that way you'll know the decks in the description below. But yeah, so I will see you next time. Hey, pile 4. So this is your pile if you picked pile 4. And I will go ahead and put the description or the decks in the description below. Let's start with this. House of Flowers. I feel like for some of you guys, it can be a situation where like you might have a lot of growth happening or things happening on the inside of your house. Some of you, there's a group of you where you have a lot of things happening and growth happening in your home. And maybe like, because of coronavirus or things like that, like, there might be a situation where, you haven't really been able to branch out with it. You haven't been able to show it to others. You haven't been able to bless others with the growth and the healing that you've been going through. Others of you guys, it feels like it's protruding out and you're just like, oh my gosh, like this is crazy. And maybe some of you guys, like it's growing out, but you're like attracting onlookers and like, it's like, and maybe it's falling on other people and you're just like, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to like, you know what I mean? Like, it's almost like you might be blessing yourself and like, having all this growth, but it's falling on other people. And it's like, some people might not like it. Some people might like not feel ready for it. And some people might love it. And it's just like, you're just watching like how all this is happening in your life. But regardless, it's like, it's kind of being held in though. So it's like, I don't know. It just feels like it's, and some of you guys might feel like there's so much growth of the flowers of this element that you feel like you're like, oh, well, what about all the other stuff I was working on? And it's like, is there room for me? And it's not so much like room for you or not. It's just like this idea that like, it feels like it's a totally different place. I mean, let's see the rest of the reading. Like, like I said, there might be more elements to it, but, actually, I want to go, okay, I'm good with this first. Or actually, I guess I'll go this first. Vulnerability. Yeah, it's a matter of vulnerability. It's like, well, if you can also be this person. And it's like the situation that like, all this stuff might be coming out at you. And it's like being in a vulnerable place to where you feel like, just because there's this growth and stuff and over there, it might fall on you. It could be a situation where it's like, what is it? Keeping up with the Joneses. Not that you're actually trying to keep up with the Joneses per se, but maybe like there's so much happening in these people's lives, around you. And it just feels like it just keeps hitting you and you feel vulnerable in the sense of like, your own worth or your own idea. Like you feel like, these things can hit you any moment and you feel like, I mean, maybe some of you guys, it's a social media situation, you know, where it's like when you're scrolling, you're just going through, and then, you know, you keep getting hit with all these blessings everyone's going through, and they're going through this vacation, they're going on this, and they're doing that. And you're just like, and it just feels like it's hitting you. Like you feel vulnerable in that situation of like, well, that's not me, and that's not where I am. And like, these are larger than life, and like, this doesn't match my life. So some of you guys might, I mean, there's so many different elements there. So we'll see with the rest of the reading, but like, there's an element of vulnerability in that and feeling vulnerable. And sometimes if you're the person in the house feeling like maybe you need to be vulnerable and like understand that, you know, this new aspect of what your house looks like, because there's petals everywhere and there's this and that, is going to be different for a change, for a scene. Right? And like, you see that too? It's like, yeah, they're like everywhere. Like there's so much of this growth. And I feel like some of you guys, you might feel vulnerable in this new growth. Those of you that are in this house already, that it's your house, you might feel vulnerable because you're like, oh, well, plants need to be watered. So that means I'm going to have to get water in this house all the time, like symbolically speaking. So that means there's like healing coming, and then there's this spiritual healing, and then there's this, and there's that. And so you might feel like with each like raid, is that the word? Each phase, each whatever, like season of just like everything hitting you, and water and healing and growth and ascension and all this. And it's just like, it just keeps showing you like where you've been. And so you might feel vulnerable because you're constantly changing. And I don't do reversals, so we'll see what comes up here. So this is 3 of Swords, the Fool, Wheel of Fortune, and the 7 of Staffs. So the 3 of Swords, obviously, well, 3 of Swords can be like ending a grieving process, grief, but it's kind of like knowing that like you need to come out of it. Like this isn't like this, there's a new day, you know, it's a matter of like coming out of it, like ending that grief, like ending, having gone through it, sometimes processing through it specifically, but just not getting stuck in it. The Fool can be, it can be like new energy, you know, going in. It's not so much innocent, but just like, you know, open and just willing to just branch out and trust these new experiences and just, you know, go into the world in that way. The Wheel of Fortune, a lot of times it's, I mean, the way I see it is like there's a time for everything, and, you know, there's a season for everything, but also like the fact that like everything happens in the right time. So everything's gonna happen. It's kind of a culmination card, but it's just sometimes you might not see exactly where things are in the moment, but it's all working out for the better in the end. And it's understanding, trusting that there's different seasons, like there's different times, like different things will look different times. And it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong. It's just sometimes it looks different than others, and that's what all together makes this picture in the end. And then Staff of Sevens, Staff of Sevens, huh? 7 of Staffs is like the 7 of Swords, or not swords, I mean 7 of Wands. And the 7 of Wands is kind of like, it's defending your territory. It's like sometimes like when you defend your territory, and when you're, you know, like being in this state to defend your position, and you might feel like there's adversity and stuff, but it's like when you do that, when you do defend your territory, it's almost like you learn that you actually belong there. You learn that you can defend your territory. You learn that you've learned and you've grown so much that this territory is yours. This platform, this area you're at is actually where you belong. So for some people, however, this card is always really different to me because all these other cards like usually have something, and there's nothing really like alive there. So I do feel like this element of like, it's like all the plant realm, it's all this growth. And so some of you, I mean, I'll see with this full reading, but just with this deck, this card is like really different to read for me. And yeah, I mean, a lot of the thing, like I said, it's a heartbreak. Some of you guys, you might be getting over a heartbreak, a romantic, or it could be even like a loss, you know, heartbreak, grief. But I do feel for some of you guys, it's like you might have felt like one with somebody. You might have been, you know, you and your stuff, your differences, and them and theirs, and you were like making this picture, and it feels like that's all done and that's ended, and it's like, it's almost like seen now that like you're two different people, and like maybe like more so in a sense that like you're different people, but like you're like on a different path now, like you're not gonna be together in this. But I feel like some of you are coming out of this, or you're like called to come out of this, and you feel like the fool in this situation. You're like, oh my God, this is all new territory. I haven't been here. Like, I haven't been single in a while. I haven't even dealt with heartbreak like this. Some of you guys might be dealing with heartbreak in a weird way that like you've never dealt with. Like maybe this is hitting you harder. Maybe you lost somebody. Maybe it's not necessarily only romantic. Like maybe you lost somebody and you just feel so like a fish out of water and right now. Like it's all so new. And it's like, and you keep telling yourself, it's like, okay, well, you know, it's gonna get better. But like every season things look different and you're like, oh, this is all so new. This is so different. And it's like I said, it's a culmination that like when it all comes together, you know, you'll be wielding the sword. I mean, not that that's you, but in general, it's like you'll be wielding the sword. Like you'll have, and the swords are like, you know, it's a mental energy, mental and communicative and like boundaries, like, you know. So a lot of times, like, it's like you'll come out of this, and as you go forward and trust, you'll start getting your voice back. And maybe it's your voice different than you ever had with them. Like maybe this is like the other parts of you that have been dormant for a while. But regardless, it's like, because normally with the Seven of Staffs, it's like one fighting against all the others. And here's a one with all the others. But they're not being held by people. So I feel like once you get your voice back, it's like you'll understand your power to where, okay, you'll be you. But like you'll start understanding that it's not the people. It's people coming with their circumstances. People coming with their fears, with their defenses. And so it's like you'll take it less personally. You'll take it less as, oh, this is against you, but rather this is just the way they operate. And so this is what you're fighting against. So it's almost like it might empower you in that situation to be able to see things for what they are, to break it down and not be like, well, that means I'm worth nothing, or that means I'm worth less. This has nothing, just because you're getting adversity doesn't mean that you're worth less. It just means that you're standing on a platform that other people want. It doesn't mean that they're supposed to have it either. Like, look, like you've fought for that platform. You've gone through all these different seasons. You've gone through all this different stuff. You fought for that platform. So now when you get adversity, like it's going to show itself, its true colors, but it's like, it doesn't mean that you're not supposed to be there. It actually means that you're exactly where you're supposed to be. And the more you've pushed through that and you say, no, this is my place, and you stay there, the more you start believing it's your place. And the more all of this happens to where the culmination happens of the Wheel of Fortune and everything. Like it's the completion of the cycle, you know? But there's a place of vulnerability in this. There's a place of vulnerability normally when you see that. If you see that before you're here, you know, you might be up here and like you're seeing this coming and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm not ready for that. And not because you're not ready for it, but like maybe you don't hold the sword yet. Maybe, you know, you haven't gone through these seasons, but once you hold the sword, once you have the whole picture, once you've gone through growing different parts of yourself and feeling like a fool in different areas in your life as you build them, you know, build yourself, your own self-worth up, then when you actually come to this, it's going to be like, oh, okay, cool. Like, I know what you're fighting for. That's nice. This is my place. I'm good. You know what I mean? So it'll be different in that sense. Like you won't live in that place of vulnerability. I mean, yes, you might be called to vulnerability sometimes, but I'm just saying, like, you'll understand the power that you wield, and you'll understand what you've gained from this circumstance, that it wasn't all a loss, that you've grown and become better in yourself in that. So again, like I said, the House of Flowers over here, it's like, I just feel like this is almost similar to this. So it's like sandwiched in, and it's like all these different seasons, all these different things, and you're just like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. There's not supposed to be giant flowers in a house, but that's like the season right now. That's where you are right now. And you know, sometimes people might get pissed when suddenly like it's falling on them. you know, they might get pissed, and you might have adversity here when they're like, no, your flowers aren't supposed to fall on us. And it's like, well, it's in your yard, technically. You know what I mean? It's like, this is your territory. You're building your territory. So if they go in your territory and something falls on them, that's cool. That's your boundaries. That's your stuff. And it's not even like painfully falling. Like, they might feel like it is painful because they're not used to it. But it doesn't mean that you're in the wrong. It's just sometimes when you're in this situation, you're like, this is all new. I've never been in a house where it's like all like this. Or I've never dealt with a situation where it's like one after another, like as far as times of like healing and growth, but also the pains of the healing and the you know, like everything's showing itself. It's like sometimes you might feel like all your skeletons are out of the closet in your mind, and you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know I had all this stuff to heal. And it's like, it's the full energy. It's you're building, you're healing, you're growing to where you're not needing somebody else to be complete, but you're already going to be a complete person. That way, you know, in the future, when you go into connections, relationships, even romantic, non-romantic, like it'll be more healthier because it'll be working together as two wholes instead of feeling like you lack. And so therefore you need somebody else because you lack. Addictions are affecting your romantic life and codependency. Yeah, there you go. So some of you guys are in this situation because your original outlook on relationships, on connections, and like I said, this might not be romantic only. This can be a loss of, you know, it could be a family member situation. It could be, you know, it's grief, it's loss, it's losing somebody, or even, I feel like for some of you guys, ideals, because this is like thoughts too in your head. Sometimes like maybe like thought pattern of like, this is what made me whole. Or this is what I held on to, or this was my value in that. And it's like, but that was a codependency. If in order for you to be a full-fledged, regular, okay person, acceptable to yourself, you need somebody else, or you need all this other energy, then you're forgetting like who you are. You know, you need to re-meet yourself to where you actually know all your different parts, to where you actually can be like, cool, I can stand against this. And like when there's adversity, you're not just like, oh, I guess like I'm not worth the fight. Like, you know what I mean? Instead of going to that place, you go, okay, that's nice. You know, I understand I have a position you want. That you know, like, good luck, you know? It's like you stay in your place. You don't let other people's adversity, other people's downfalls, other people's insecurities challenge your value or challenge your stance and where you are. So I hope that resonated for you guys. Let me know what did and what didn't in the comments below. And also, if you feel compelled to share this, please do, even if, you know, you might not think this pile resonates for everybody. You know, there's 3 other piles in the video, so, you know, whoever's meant to watch will watch. Also, like I said, I'll go ahead and put the decks in the description below. So, and yeah, I will see you guys next time.